elders in the local church are involved in preaching and teaching, and in the next 5 minutes we're going to take a look at a very simple overview of the subject. Around 50,000 sermons are preached in Britain every week, and if only a small proportion were really effective, Britain would have been challenged and changed a long time ago, and revival would already be here. The word preach occurs 112 times in the New Testament, and only on 6 occasions does it refer to a formal discourse, that which we would now call preaching. 4 Greek words in the New Testament tell us what preaching is about. To proclaim or herald, Mark 1 verse 4. To tell good news, Luke 4 verse 18. To tell thoroughly, Acts 13 verse 38. And simply to talk, Acts 14 verse 25. One of the best definitions of preaching is that it is the communication of divine truth via the human personality. John Wesley said, "Give me 1,000 preachers who fear nothing but sin and desire nothing but God, and such alone will shake the gates of hell and set up the kingdom of heaven on earth." Preaching should be approached with a sense of great responsibility. Every effort must be made to communicate in the most effective way. There is nothing in the universe more important than the conveying of the mind of God to the heart of man. David Garrick, the famous 18th century actor, was once asked by a preacher why it was that people on the stage were able to stir such great emotions with fiction when many preachers obtain such small effect with facts. And his reply was, "Well, we actors present fiction as though it were fact, and sometimes you preachers present fact as though it was fiction." The 4 primary areas of communication are devotional, preaching to be, evangelistic, preaching to believe, teaching, preaching to know, and training, preaching to do. Really, we should come from the Bible with a message rather than going to the Bible for a sermon. Oswald J. Smith once said, "The world does not need a sermon, it needs a message." You can go to seminary and learn how to preach sermons, but you'll have to go to God to get a message. When we know the subject of our message, our basic tools will be our Bible, a concordance, and commentaries. Today, all of these are likely to be computer-based, and your pastor will point you to some of the most useful software. When it comes to notes, some people prefer outline notes, and others will want very full notes. Those who are not used to preaching usually prefer to write out their messages in full. But fuller notes are always essential when delivering a Bible study. Headings are important to assist the speaker to organize his or her thoughts clearly and for the hearers to follow and remember what's being said. Many preachers like to use alliteration, that's points beginning with the same letter of the alphabet, but this is less popular in contemporary preaching today. It is, however, essential that the preacher has organized his or her thoughts clearly, for it's certain that a mist in the pulpit will always create a fog in the pew. Every message will have these 4 ingredients: introduction, development, application, and conclusion. The introduction should immediately give the hearers an idea of what the message is about. It may take the form of a story or an illustration, but it must grab the attention. If there's no application to a message, then it's no more useful than someone on the bank of a river shouting to a drowning man, "Swim, swim." Preparation is not just about the message, it's about the messenger. The message should come out of an encounter with God and be sealed with an encounter of God as well. I want to list 5 things that constitute successful preaching. Successful preaching conveys the mind and the will of God. Successful preaching requires faith in the hearers. Hebrews chapter 3 verse 19 to chapter 4 verse 4 and 1 Thessalonians 2 verse 13 tells us the same thing. Successful preaching is relevant. It's no good declaring that Jesus is the answer if we're not listening to the question. And successful preaching inspires. It must ignite you first. Spurgeon was once asked why he attracted such great crowds. His response was, "I get on fire and people come and watch me burn." And then successful preaching is honest. A preacher should not, for example, preach a gospel message that highlights the advantages of salvation without mentioning the need for repentance and commitment. When Paul speaks of peddling the word in 2 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 17, he's referring to those who sold watered down wine in the marketplace. So preaching requires honesty, vulnerability, transparency, and these are essential in the preacher. Well, that's all for now. May the Lord bless you richly. And don't forget, keep the caffeine flowing.